everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Heal Yourself Naturally. It's just Hava and me today. Nicole had to take a little break. She's a busy mom with a big family, so we've got it today, Hava, don't we?
Yes,
And
we
today,
are.
yes, we do. And today we are going to continue our amazing conversation about herbs and how they can help your body. And today we're going to talk about the skin. So the skin is our largest organ, and it is the one that, it is the organ that protects us, our insides from the outside. Of course, that's where all the toxins are, the bacteria, the viruses, and if we didn't have skin, we probably wouldn't live very long. So Hava and I have decided to talk about the skin today and how you can, keep it healthy, but also indications of, what it means when your skin is unhealthy and what it might mean in regards to what's going on in your body and the imbalances in your body. So as always, when we start these discussions, we want to talk about what it means, what the topic means. So Hava, I'm going to have you start. So, in regards to healthy skin, what does that mean to you? What does healthy skin mean to you?
Right. The skin, as we say, it's something that we see from outside. The skin is when we look at the person, the first thing that when we look at the person, we see how his skin is. It glowing? Is it dull? Is it has a lot of flakes? Is it has a lot of um, um, different, I would say, pimples, or that actually help us to see how the really person is healthy. If the person is healthy internally, you see this unique glow that comes from within. And this is for me what means to be to have a healthy skin, because as you said, the skin is the largest organ, so it's really the one that covers and shows you how the internal organs are they are in a healthy state wise, or they are sick, or they are, so that's for me it's very important, the first impression, how you look at the person. If you see that he's hydrated, then you see this unique glow, as I said before, less wrinkles. And yeah, so that's for me means a healthy skin. Now for you.
Well, I would certainly agree with that wholeheartedly. When you look at somebody and you want to see not only the texture of their skin, the color of their skin, which in some ethnicities it's hard, but but you know the texture, I should say the pallor, not the color, I guess. um and is there acne, and what type of acne? And it's not just the face, it's any skin that you can see. Is it
Exactly.
flushed, is it red, is it white? So as far as like how I've been trained in like traditional Chinese medicine diagnostics, it's like when we look at a person, it really can tell us what's going on inside the body. So the skin, the face is usually the first thing we see, and the skin on the face. So I'm looking at are they flushed? Is it flaky? Is it smooth? Is it really oily? Do they have white marks? Do they have pimples? And where are those pimples? And and all that, so it's basically that. I mean, I would have to say that's pretty much um, the soup to nuts of healthy skin. And then we're asking, do you suffer from any kind of food allergies? Do you have itchy skin? Does it itch? Do you get hives? so
Right.
so there's really so many states of the skin that can tell us if it's healthy or not. So when we see healthy skin, we don't want to see blemishes, we don't want to see scaly, we don't want to see flushing. We want to see natural, glowing, healthy, not too oily, not too dry skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also sometimes people think moles and other stuff that are coming on the skin. Some say they're beauty marks, and then there is also red dots, and that red dots are also indication. So anything that we see on outside that basically shows you the internal health. So and unfortunately in our times, the people are trying to scrub their skin. They do laser treatments, they do everything. And I see cases after cases, even people who go through this scrubbing and laser stripping, they still have the same problems because it's always internally. So
Internal.
our listeners need to remember and understand that no matter how much you're going to scrub, it might look now for a month and then it will come back. So that just shows you the internal health.
Right. So let's talk about some of these skin problems that perhaps you see in your practice, like, and then I'll share the ones that I commonly see, and we can talk about uncommon ones as well. But what do you
Right.
typically see as a skin problem?
So let's start with the main ones that almost I see on a daily basis, and that should be an acne issues that I get all the time the same questions: what to do with the acne, and it's either it's a teenager acne, or we're speaking about and even pregnancy acne. It doesn't matter. It's just something that follows people through their life. So the acne issues, that's something that I see a lot, and that's another one of the issues. Another thing that we probably all of us, we see this, which is eczema, which is a flakiness, and we can see this already, that it's really bothering even a young babies. As soon they come out from the mother's womb, they're already having the issues with the skin. Even just a few minutes ago, one of the members on my group posted about the child who has irritation in the diaper, which is another kind of something that shows you this off in the. So all these problems that we are dealing on a daily basis is the one that I see all the time. Other things that I see a lot is people come with the brown spots over their face. Well, that's something that, we all going through this as a woman, and or as a man probably. And then I also see a lot in my practice people who have um, fungi issues, that the
Yeah.
skin fungus, and also the skin, the tinea, the one that
Mm,
changes the color and on the skin, that's a fungi.
yep.
So that's another problem that people are stuck. So that's kind of maybe major problems that I see.
Mm,
Obviously there's many other ones that we can dive deep into it, from the ulcers and stuff like that, but the
mm.
basic and overall for the people, what I deal is, like I said, the acne and yeah. So
Yeah.
you.
And I would agree. I mean, I think acne is, I guess I could probably talk about like the top five. Um, it would be the acne, but cystic acne, and that is a troublesome thing for teenagers, and it can be very persistent, and it can be very painful. If you've ever had a cystic pimple before, they're under the skin, so and you can't pop them, they're just very painful. They're almost like a boil. And just imagine having those all over
Boils.
your face. Yeah. So certainly cystic acne, eczema, like you said, eczema is on the rise. Eczema is an immune issue. It's also food allergy related, but we're going to talk about that after. But eczema is also correlated with vaccine injury. And so many people suffer from eczema, and there's different types of eczema.
Right.
Then the other one that's pretty popular is psoriasis, and this one tends to go with other autoimmune diseases. But psoriasis is a modern disease. It's very much again associated with immune dysfunction, vaccine injury, and toenail fungus and fungus in general, on the feet and on the skin of the feet, I should say, is pretty popular, and we kind of touched upon that in our other podcast when we
Right.
talked about circulation.
Right.
And so, you know, I guess hard to heal wounds would be another one. And you alluded to ulcers, which is kind of a similar thing. And that's a lot of diabetics have that issue. So I have seen a few of those. And so those are the things at the top of my head. course, diaper rash, like you said, that I deal with on, a daily or weekly basis. There's always someone with a skin issue. But then, what I've seen too is like people will just get these rashes out of the blue and they call that, dermatitis or contact dermatitis. And they can just be these sporadic rashes that can be anywhere in the body. It can be on your leg, it could be on your arms, on your torso. And then the other thing that I see a lot is candida issues on the, rashes
Right,
on the body,
right.
which especially this time of year in the summer, and it's been a hot summer here in New Hampshire. Uh, and there's a lot of people that deal with candida and yeast issues topically. So I guess that would be my bulleted list of skin issues that I comfortably deal with, on a weekly or, a daily, weekly basis.
There is actually something that while you've been talking come up into my mind, and maybe our listeners will also correlate to the issue that something just related to this year. I didn't see this last year. I didn't see like this for, I mean, I actually never seen that often as I see now. The people who go to the public swimming pools or go to the certain swimming holes, and they end up with some sort of a very severe bacterial skin infection, like seriously severe, like and it is so severe that I hear people like they go right away on antibiotics, and that's something very interesting. So whoever is will be our listeners for you should really be aware of that situation and maybe keep away, because I do see this on the rise. I've never seen such thing, like I'm getting phone calls and just people tell me, oh, so the first question, where you been? Oh, I was in a pool, I was
You
in
mean like
a
the flesh eating bacteria?
I don't know, but something that happened that I've never seen. It's just they go to either to Mexico or they go to other places or they go just just down the blocks to the pool, community pool, and they end up with some
Mm.
sort of a bacteria that you see that spreads like in a day or two. It's all becomes flaky red and
Oh
looks
my
very
goodness.
scary. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. I've never seen this before. I wanted to bring this to your attention also.
Yeah. Wow. That can be
I've never
scary.
seen this, never. And like this is this year, it's the first year. So I'm not sure what is going on. No, either there's some putting some chemicals into the water or people while there is a lot of people maybe and they're swimming in the same area, maybe they are shedding something, but I'm telling you, it's also not every member that it affects, but it affects or either children or either one of them family members, but not specifically like the whole family will
Oh, I
get it,
wonder if it's
obviously.
wasn't there something going on after everyone got the COVID vaccine that was making them, oh, it was leprosy. It was making them more susceptible to leprosy. I wonder if it could be correlated with lower immune function and if it's only
Maybe.
affecting certain people or if they have an open wound maybe and it capitalizes on that or
Yeah, I'm telling you,
interesting.
it's something very interesting that I've never experienced that before. So, who are listeners, you should avoid those areas. And if you want to swim, then you should swim in the open places where there's a good flow of water and not water that it's sitting. And
That's stagnant and yeah, and
yeah,
then we're talking pools, so there's chemicals and they could be breeding these resistant bacteria.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I'm, and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue further. But
Okay. So
I just
there's
wanted to bring this to attention.
right, and that's enough skin problems, right?
Oh, yes, that's enough skin
There's a
problems.
lot more, so we certainly can't touch on all of them. But in
100%.
terms of our experience and what we've seen is kind of where we're going with all this. So, as far as like what your favorite herbs are and what you would do as far as an intervention for a skin problem, I mean, we have plenty of time to eke this out. So, if you want to just talk a little bit about some of the remedies that you've used that are helpful.
Right. So maybe we should like divide like this we focus on one problem at a time and then
Yeah.
kind of solve
Yeah.
it. So maybe
Yeah.
we should start with for the problem with the young mothers who are or their children suffering from eczemas
Yeah.
and skin rashes as soon the baby comes to the world. Now, so and then we'll continue further and we'll cover the other means. So for me, what the first thing that I found, as you mentioned, as soon the baby arrives to the world, unfortunately, many mothers who are not being still educated, they go through the medical process where they've been injected into with foreign materials and stuff like that. I also found that a lot of mothers just before giving giving a birth, they've been injected to the like with injected with fear. That's one thing, but then they will
Yes.
also been given some sort of either antibiotics because of the something natural that happens in the body, that we get certain bacteria that's preparing us for the birth. But unfortunately, because the doctor are swabbing all the time, the mothers before giving birth, they're frequently seeing their doctors, their caregivers, whatever, and they are scared them, and they tell them, oh, there is a pH imbalance, then probably you have a candida, or you have this and that, you have a vaginal infection, so they will give them antibiotics. And then we end up with the babies who born, and after a week or two they start having an issues. So that it maybe starts with a few pimples, then it can end up with a severe eczema. It can start from the front and up and goes further. So that's like one thing. So we want to ensure that the mother should not take any medication, any antibiotics, because then you destroy not only your child's flora, but also your gut flora and the flora where we have in the vagina area that is specifically is there to coat and protect the babies. Once I said that I've been kicked out from different places when I mentioned it, but that's like simple things. So I found that the very important for the mother is to start drinking more and keep herself very well hydrated. That's the first. As soon you see something on your baby, you need to know that the problem is not only with the baby, but problem is also with you. So I would suggest lifestyle probiotics as a first defense, helping to restore good flora, and then drinking herbal teas. And what I found that many moms are dehydrated because they're weak and they're tired and they have to take care of the children. They also, so I would suggest either nettle tea or either a raspberry leaf tea are the ones that are very, very good as the beginning, especially nettle tea. And if we're dealing with some yellowish skin, then we would add even a little bit milk thistle, and dandelions are all wonderful. I was giving dandelion to my daughter-in-law. So those teas are wonderful, and they help to clear out the toxins that are bothering. And then another thing that I would suggest, if you see the babies are starting with some sort of a skin issues, is always double check if the baby is going to the bathroom, is pooping correctly. And this is, I have a very unique case of a few weeks baby who suddenly blown up like a balloon and was itching all over, and like was yellow coming behind the ears, and was like mucus all over. And I asked the mom like how often the baby poops. So she said, well, the baby didn't poop for 2 weeks. I'm like,
Oh my
what do
gosh.
you mean? But yeah, but my pediatrician said it's absolutely normal, babies are changing. So, and that's what's happening. Basically, the problem is that we do not understand that there is a correlation between moving the bowels, get rid of the garbage, and then feeding the baby. So when the baby keeps the garbage inside the system, it comes through the skin. So it's very important that make sure the moms are aware of the situation, and they give the baby they hydrate themselves, but also make sure the baby are pooping, because that will also be connected to the skin problem. That's what I found, like really. So in this specific case, the baby didn't poop for 2 weeks, and then I as soon I gave her an herbal tea that I have, a baby bowel tea, like made with fennel and other things, and the baby pooped out in a day. He was absolutely fine. So that also shows you indication that there is internal toxicity. So that's what all the first thing that I would deal when it comes to the baby skin issues, eczema. So you should make sure that you hydrated, good bacteria, And then you also make sure the baby is moving his bowels. Now it's you, Sarah.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. That's great, Hava.
Would you
Um,
like to add something? Because it's
yeah, as far as eczema, which is really common, um, and some can be very, very severe. Like
oh
some
yeah.
of these poor children have just this alligator skin, and they take bleach baths, and I'm just horrified by the whole thing. So instead of bleach, I suggest people use saltwater baths just because that will prop up the good bacteria and keep the other bad bacteria at bay. But what I find that's necessary is, yes, of course, you need to eliminate your waste, because a lot of these skin issues are correlated with liver and not detoxifying properly, which is clearly part of gut health. I find too that it's likely associated with lack of diversity of the microbiome, right, of the flora of the gut. Um, but food allergies and sensitivities. So if it's a baby, that's, mom has to really deal with all that. But if it's an older child, we're really staying away from dairy, from wheat, from soy, these GMO products and the products that our bodies have a hard time digesting because of our modern lives, over vaccination, and poor microbiome diversity. So I always suggest people eliminate certain, you can do an elimination diet, and like I said, the top 3 are the dairy, the wheat, and the soy. And then, restoring good gut health with good food. And uh, um the herb that really shines in regards to eczema is plantain leaf. And that's Plantagum major, or broadleaf plantain is the one that I use, and it really is amazing at restoring the gut microbiome. Not really necessarily the microbiome, but I should say the mucosa. So that mucosal lining that's in the gut is really important for protecting the inside of the gut to undigested food. So plantain really restores it, and plantain also heals. So using that internally in teas, in encapsulations, or even in tincture, um, I suggest highly. And so, supporting the liver with, I love using nettle is wonderful. Dandelion root is one of my favorites for the liver, burdock root, milk thistle, a combination of those, or try one at a time and see which one jives. And so really getting the liver to detoxify the body. And then when you're doing that, you're supporting that elimination. And then the food elimination diet, and then just, try some plantain. And now that's for internal stuff. Now, externally, I I have an eczema salve that I make that has a comfrey and plantain combination, as well as calendula.
Mm-hmm.
And I love calendula for eczema and for diaper rash. It really just reduces the inflammation just like that. And with those two things, the topical and then doing the internal work, um, eczema, I've seen eczema just disappear. Now, there's another plant that I use that is not often employed for eczema, and that's cannabis.
Oh,
Now,
that's so interesting.
and
That's
I'm
very
not
interesting.
suggesting little people start smoking, you know. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's actually the non-THC kind. You can use just the CBD. They market it as CBD, but it's really, you should be getting a full spectrum non-THC cannabis, which is marketed as CBD. Some call it hemp, but it's all cannabis. And
Right.
so I like to say non-THC cannabis because that's really what it is. And using that, you can get the oils and different potencies. I recommend something about 700 to 1,000. You can use it topically, and you can take it internally. And what that does is it modulates the immune dysregulation that's going on, that's underlying the whole eczema issue. And I've seen that work amazingly.
That's very, and what age you would suggest this to the babies?
You could give a baby cannabis, but if they're breastfeeding, mama can do it.
Mama can do it,
And
yes.
but it's safe for any age, you know, as long as they can eat. I mean, it's food
Right,
and it's
right.
not,
Obviously,
yeah, and it's not giving them THC. That's not what I'm
yes.
suggesting. But
But
I've seen it
actually,
work.
maybe it is works in a certain way of calming a nervous system, because you
Yes.
see the children when they're itching, they're like their mind goes crazy and they just want to continue itching. Maybe that's also kind of works on the nervous system to calm down. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found work, and I was actually using a lot of chickweed
Oh, I love
tea
chickweed
in a
too. Yeah.
bath. I would,
Yes.
and I have people sending me images of their granddaughter sitting in a chickweed bath and playing
Oh,
with
that's
the.
so sweet.
So that's another herb that I actually use and love it. But
Yeah,
it's
and I guess I should mention too the old reliable, right? The Avena, sativa, the oatmeal baths. It's like get yourself some Quaker oat, not Quaker oats, organic oats, put it in a big pot, make a big pot of oatmeal, and then use the water portion in the tub. And you can even get Avena, um, you know, it's in commerce. Like you can get the little powders and put it in your tub. But oatmeal soothes eczema or any skin issue too. So we can't forget about the old reliable, right? Everybody has oatmeal
right.
in their
Do you see me? Unfortunately, I think I
Oh,
lost
I
you.
see you. You're
You
fine.
see me?
I do.
I'm.
You don't
I
see
don't know
me?
how. And no, I'm trying to get back to. I'm trying.
Uh-oh.
You see me
I
now?
do. I see you.
Okay, so for some reason I don't know how to go back to the same, but okay.
Did you minimize the screen?
No, it's just someone called me and on a FaceTime, and I lost it and I don't know how to get back to it.
Can you just press escape?
Um,
We'll probably lose you if you do that. I don't know.
I don't know. Let me
But we
see.
can see you,
Oh,
so
here. Okay, good. I
okay, good.
back. So
I
I
know it's
learned.
gonna be
Okay,
a little
another
weird
lesson learned. I'm
talking to
so
no
not
one.
good into this, but thank God I'm good.
So
I'm
let's
good.
move
Okay,
on to
perfect.
another ailment. If you want to just choose that, if you want
Let's
to choose,
continue next.
you just do
Other problems.
acne. Yeah,
Let's do acne.
yeah.
Acne, it's obviously there's a couple things when each case is different. Each case it depends on when it's happening, but let's speak about the teenager acne that most girls and boys are unfortunately been put on the different hormonal medications, and so, which is like absolutely not good, and creates more emotional problems, headaches, migraines, and so on, so on. So we're actually dealing with a much worse situation here. So let's speak about the acne. Okay, so acne. Whenever someone comes with me with acne, the first thing I want to see, and the first question that I ask, how often you go to the bathroom? For some reason, this is the main thing for me, because I know the teenagers, they are in a time that they're shy. They don't want, they first of all, nobody speaks about them.
Oh my
They go
gosh, no
through
one's gonna want to
school.
talk about poop. Oh,
Exactly, right? So this is like my main thing that comes into my mind, like the first thing I'm telling you. And it's very interesting to really see the coloration of internal toxicity that really comes straight to the skin. And I usually, when I look at the person and I see that has these pimples and the acne, it comes into my mind that's absolutely internal toxicity.
yeah.
And most cases, I want to say 95%, even I cannot say 100, but I will say 95% of young girls and boys are not going to the restroom the way they should. And I found the problems because either they're shy, also the way the restrooms build up in America, which are horrible. They leave this gap in the bathroom, like everyone can see their shoes. And so there is a thing that it feels uncomfortable, and so on. So it's kind of built up through I would say through they're still young, and it's just builds up until it gets to the situation as soon they become teenagers, they no longer have a good habits, and those habits are the ones who start pushing the acne through the skin, because acne is basically a poop from the skin. That's how usually I want to people to think. So that's the first thing. It's absolutely poop from the skin. I
Yes.
say, like, whenever you cannot poop from internal, like go out, then the body say, listen, I tried this way, I tried this way, you don't listen, I'll go out from the skin. And then you see all the troubles, and this is the main problem as I see. So for that, obviously, I want to make sure that I teach and give a proper tools for the teenagers. Make sure that they're not shy. Whenever they have a call, nature call, they should go. It doesn't matter if it's a 7-Eleven or if it's in a Walmart or Kmart. I don't give a fuck. You have to go.
Yeah,
When you have to go, you have to go, unfortunately. And that, it's so important that parents should remember that, because that's one of the first triggers that cause the problem. Next things is dehydration. There are almost everyone are dehydrated because they drink all this cola and Pepsi and carbonated soda and like all this
yeah,
carbonated waters that actually dehydrate them more,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then they apply all this garbage on their skin, like all these beautiful makeups, because the girls want to look nice, and they apply, like, at age 14 you see already girls who are putting like tons of makeup, and the boys, they're using all these perfumes to look fancy and sexy. But listen, those stuff are promoting a hormonal imbalance, right?
Absolutely.
So that's another thing that I would like really look into it. And then obviously, like, see, we all speak on about the basics, and then obviously we want to look about their food and the diet, which plays an important role, because they cannot go to the bathroom, or either because they're shy or because they don't consume enough fiber. And mainly food, what people eat are pizzas and dough all the time. And dough, it's like becomes like a gum sticking in your stomach. And I usually say it's like your hands are in the dirt. Like, put your hands in the dirt. That's how your stomach is, right? So that's another things. And then obviously hormonal imbalance that causing all because of environment and all the toxic chemicals that been sprayed and used on us. So that's like basic things. But and I found that as soon we cover that, it's just kind of it takes time though. What people don't understand is like, oh, I want to see results in 2 days. There's no such thing as results in 2 days. And you need to understand that it's a process. It can take 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10 months. But give yourself a time and you'll see that you'll heal, because we are a self-healing machine. But now you, Sarah, and then we'll speak about the herbs.
Okay, yeah, acne I see quite a bit, and I've helped quite a few kids. But you're right, they don't want to wait, and so they end up going on these harsh drugs like Accutane, which ruin their
Yes.
gut and set them up for gut failure for the rest of their lives. But you hit it, right? Constipation, I was chronically constipated as a teenager, and I never even knew it. And we didn't talk about poop. We didn't talk about
Right.
elimination. I'm like, whatever. And we didn't drink water either. I mean, I drank water. I was an athlete, so I drank water when I was sweating and thirsty, but all the other times I wasn't drinking water all day. I was chronically dehydrated and constipated for a good portion of my upbringing, and that's kind of what's happening still. I think food is not important to people, so they just fill the hole, and certainly pizza does that, right? So
Yes.
yeah, diet's correlated with, so the big pieces of the diet that I try to stair step these kids into just getting their head around what goes in your body, and it's correlated to what happens to your body, and how you feel and how you look and everything else. So dairy and sugar are the two biggest triggers to acne that I know of. So we need to eliminate that. We need to get transit time in their guts, get it going. Move the bile, have a bitter something, have a vegetable. You mentioned fiber. I love fermented cabbage. It's hard to get some kids to eat it, But
If
what
they're not used to it, yeah.
they're not used to it, it's pickled, it's pungent and they don't really like it. But what cabbage does, and even just have them eat coleslaw and more broccoli, is these cruciferous vegetables help the body break down all these hormones that are pushing through their body. And that's what sparks this cystic acne, is all the hormones that the body's trying to eliminate, but eating crappy foods and not crapping is stopping up that whole process. So it's like this bottleneck thing that happens. So we're supporting the gut with good food, and the herbs I like for that are things, again, plantain, marshmallow, Oregon grapefruit. A fennel is really nice. Garlic is really nice. So we're pushing through things through the gut. We're tweaking the diet, reducing sugar and dairy, and then we're supporting. You can support topically. I also like calendula internally for this because it has an effect on the liver, and we could be using burdock and dandelion again for that too.
Right.
And then topically, everybody wants topical stuff because they think it's all here, and we know it's internal. So I'm driving home the internal piece, right? And then I am giving them things like rose water and calendula water. These are hydrosols that are nice to get the inflammation down. And then I'm using all natural types of cleansers. So, I mean, I have several different oil-based cleansers that I use to, cleanse properly, get rid of all the makeup, hot water, and just simple things like that. Harsh exfoliants, I'm not into, but you could do a nice sugar scrub. I really like sugar. The glycolic acid that it makes is really nice. And then I also use a white willow in like infusion, which has the salicylic acid. And so
Mm-hmm.
that will go a long way for topical. But it really is all internal.
Did
And
you try to use witch hazel?
I don't like to use
Some,
witch hazel. I mean, I do for some people, but there's a lot of people that, well, some people are allergic to it, interestingly enough. But I
interesting.
find that it can be too drying. And so then they have, dry spots, but I definitely would use that sometimes for people. I do like that as an astringent. Yes,
Uh-huh.
very much so.
And the willow
Um,
bark you use as a tincture or you use as a hydrosol? How you use it?
so I actually, I've taken I what did I do? I made a tea and then incorporated it into a cream.
Okay.
And so that's how I did it. And so we're extracting the salicylic acid, which is water soluble, and then we're incorporating that into, and so that's like the natural way to do it.
Uh-huh.
And so of course that's what we jive with, but there's salicylic acid you can buy on the market. That's not what I'm suggesting.
Right.
And so I've taken that approach with two young women just in general, like just off the top of my head. And it starts to work right away, except it
Yeah.
takes too long and they don't want to
I
change their
know.
diet. And then they end up just like one gal just end up going on Accutane. And then she's got all these stomach problems now. It's
And
just,
also migraines. I see a lot of migraines from the Accutane and stuff. Like they
yeah,
really get this issue.
yeah.
So I did also found a few more things, and we'll add into this topic so people will found this very helpful. Is as you mentioned, is really clearing the skin. And it's also very important because it's not that we only stuck from internally, but also externally our skin is not breathing, and it's
Right.
very important to really do a good washes, really scrubbing the skin. I usually have this skin scrubber here that I can show the people. Like you can buy this on Amazon. It's like Korean sponge, and you scrub yourself very well, not over the face because the face is something very like
It's very thin.
it's delicate, but
Yeah.
I would work all those areas where we have a lymph nodes and lymphatic system that we can actually drain this
Good.
garbage out of the system. And I do usually suggest as more you scrub the skin is better. And then I also would suggest a clay wash, which is
Mm,
like you apply clay and then you really, and now which clays, right? We have a combinations of the, like we have a Rasol clay, we have rose Moroccan clay, we have a kaolin clay.
mm,
So I came up with this, also have a wonderful thing. It's called facial grains, that I have a combination of
mm,
facial
nice.
grains. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a combination of a marshmallow root. I put a little bit corn. I use kaolin clay, rose clay, green clay, oats, almonds, and then I use a grounded lavender, rose, comfrey, a little bit poppy, calendula, and then just helichrysum essential oil. That's how we pronounce it, right? Okay,
yeah,
and lavender says so. And I suggest this for the young one, for the teenager, but not do every day, but maybe twice a
twice a
week,
week.
because
Yeah,
you don't want too much. You need to know when to stop, right?
yeah,
So I found just doing this, it really helps to clean. And it's very important that people will understand that as more you remove garbage from the sea, not pile up, the faster we will be able to get rid of. So sauna is also something very good.
yeah. Yeah, and I want to just reinforce what you just said, because I also have like an oatmeal scrub that I've given these girls too that
Yeah.
I totally forgot about. And I do the oatmeal and I do the powdered roses, and I think I have some lavender in there. And I actually do mix it with witch hazel. And
Uh-huh.
so they're not spraying it all on their face, but they're just gently, like what you just
Gently.
did, just gently. And then I also want to mention too, calendula is a lymphatic mover. So when you're using it internally, you are eliminating all the gunk that the body just accumulates, in that interstitial fluid system. And so that really goes a long way. So yeah, I mean, all those things, it works. It just, again, it takes kind of a long time. So
Right.
that
So
was
the but patience, and I remember one case of this girl who was in a camp in the summertime, and she had such a horrible, like really like acne, poor girl, beautiful, and all her face was eaten up. And as soon I gave her the bowel food formula and start cleaning the bowels, like her mom texted me, look, it's getting better. And I start seeing the pictures, and I
that's
was so
great.
happy just by moving the bowels. So that's the first thing everyone should remember: clean the bowel, garbage out of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, good.
And then
It
don't let's
seems
not forget about the essential fatty acids, like all the omegas, which is very helpful for the young ones as well.
sure, sure.
Now let's do the
But
next
boy,
problems that we have.
just as a comment, isn't it amazing? It all comes down to it really, a lot of the talks we've been doing, it comes down to gut health, right? I mean,
It's just
heal the gut. All disease begins in the gut. It's completely true. They knew this thousands of years ago. I still don't think many people have caught on to that yet, except, of course, the people in our circles have. Okay, so what
we
was
are,
the,
even me, I am still learning, even though I'm in this business for so many years. You can come up with like, I know all, every
oh
day
gosh,
is a
no.
new thing,
Yeah,
like, and I'm like, oh, that's how the bowel should be, or this kind of it says contains more mucus, less mucus, like it's all the time learning process. So whoever jumps on our train, it's don't feel like, oh, you already there. We all learning. That's where we
that's
are.
right.
It's just we living through this because we work with the sick people, but you as a people who listening to us, just join and learn about the basics and be, there was a one case of one lady, it's so funny, that I suggested the bowel food formula for her, and she's like, I moved my bowels, I'm very good. And it took her whole year, and after a year, she came and she said, now I understand what you meant about the, oh, okay. So that's process. Everything is process.
Yes.
Let's speak now about other stuff.
Yeah, what
Let's speak about maybe dermatitis that we see, like all them psoriasis issues
we can talk
that
about psoriasis. Yeah, I mean,
yes,
contact
psoriasis.
dermatitis is bleeding. That's all right, whatever. Um, yeah, let's talk about psoriasis. So what do you think about that, Hava?
Well, I think it's more emotional from what I see. It's obviously toxic, that's internal, that it's not I would say that this problem, it comes and goes. It's very something that it's not easy to get rid of it. But I did found that people are iodine deficient, they are deficient in minerals, and they are very much, it usually comes when the people have some sort of a depression or something. This is where it comes. And other times that I see that pops a lot is in the summertime, when people wearing wigs or some stuff like that. That's also have a problem, because you want to look nice, but on the other hand, they have itchiness that sweats, and that becomes like a problem. And
Yeah.
those flaky issue, the flakiness, it just shows you imbalance of essential minerals. And I just do feel that this problem really connects to emotional standard, emotional health very much.
Yeah.
And obviously immune system is as well, but the immune system is low, minerals are off, and emotions are kicking. And as soon emotions kick in, it's like a problem that sleeps and awakens at a certain time. I found like there's a cycle, so 7 years or 40, I don't know, like 7 years, the what I usually see, 7, 10 years it comes
Yeah.
back.
Huh,
What do you think?
interesting. Well, psoriasis is certainly something that's hard to manage for a lot of people. It's an autoimmune disease, right? So what happens is your skin cells just keep replicating and create more than you need. It is you know, the etiology, if you will, or the clinical basis of it is it's like the very deep layers of the skin, and those where the skin and the immune cells interact, is there's a dysfunction there. And
Hmm.
so I know that COVID and the COVID vaccines and have really that can really make psoriasis worse. And I find that people with psoriasis tend to have other autoimmune issues and risk factors for cancer, things like that. So it's definitely an autoimmune issue. I feel like stress is a big component of it. I also feel as though diet, just like all the other autoimmune diseases, diet can help it or hurt it. So it's the typical wheat, dairy, soy, corn, all the things that are sprayed with either glyphosate um or just either they're GMO, just not something our body can take in and process. And it's also obviously correlated with all, as far as all autoimmunities, correlated with over vaccination and some kind of injury there with immune cells and understanding what self and non-self cells are. I do see quite a bit of it. And I have to say that, as far as what I do for psoriasis is almost the same thing I would do for eczema, is
Right.
uh, support the body's ability to eliminate, get the gut moving, eliminate foods that we know irritate. Is gluten, I mean, wheat is a huge one. Alcohol is a big one too. Uh, and then I mean, I have a nice topical, and it has the basics: comfrey, plantain, calendula, chickweed I use too, and
Yeah.
then I use neem. And if you've heard of neem before, neem is a tree that grows in like Australia.
Yeah.
It's not common around here, but the neem oil is the pressed oil. And I also use neem powder, but I get the oil separate and I use it in the psoriasis salve. And it really does just clear up the plaques for people. And it's one of the things that I find that works the best in regards to just clearing up the plaques and getting it, getting on top of it, or trying to maintain it, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but psoriasis is more, it's a pretty complicated issue. And I obviously agree that the emotional piece is huge, is just like it's huge with any imbalance, but certainly autoimmune diseases have a certain emotion with them, right? So it's a rejection, almost in some instances, it can be like a rejection of your person, right? So there's that
Right.
depression that you were alluding to. So, I mean, that's my approach to overall skin health, but certainly psoriasis, you really need to drill down into what's irritating your body. And I find that, wheat is a huge irritant. And I'm sure it's not necessarily the gluten, but it's probably the glyphosate. Um,
I think it's never in reality the gluten issue, because the
yeah, I don't
problem
think
is
so
with the
either.
wheat itself. And I tell you from my experience, when my children was young and I, started slowly transition to the everything homemade. And the first thing that I've seen that was really reacted in an amazing way, it when I start buying the wheat grains and myself from the small farmers, like we have like different farmers here around, and I would start ordering those grains, and I would grind them and then make my bread and dough and pizza, whatever, and muffins, whatever you want. And for me, I think was the biggest example to really see the difference. And when we say wheat, people think that, okay, so let me go on tapioca and potato starch. That's actually even worse,
Yeah,
because then you are consuming more starches.
yeah,
So I wanted people to know that that's not the problem in the wheat itself. The problem is the hybridized wheat is the problem.
yeah,
You definitely can call your local farmer or farm near you, buy the, if you have someone who is suffering not only from psoriasis but even young children, like you can still prepare them a delicious bread, you can make them a delicious pancakes, there is no problem with it. The problem is with hybridized breed, the wheat. That's the whole idea. I
yeah. It
found
may,
like as soon you get rid of this wheat, you start grind your own,
yeah.
the miracles like happen one after another. And
It's
some people
amazing.
think, oh, it's too much work. That's actually not that much work.
Yeah. I haven't bought my own wheat berries and ground my own flour, but I certainly have thought about it, and I do agree completely. We've been eating wheat for thousands and thousands of years. It's not something that, I mean, it's pretty much overnight. It's kind of an exaggeration that all of a sudden we have all these gut problems in the country and we have all these chronic issues in this country. When you're spraying, it's not just that, I mean, it's hybridized wheat and it's grown with more gluten. And they add more gluten to the bread. It's not properly prepared. They're not sprouting the grains anymore where they would be sprouted, traditionally. And they're spraying the wheat berries to ripen and dry them with glyphosate. So they're actually spraying them with Roundup before you make your flour. We're eating Roundup. I mean, you can
And
just,
what is Roundup? Roundup is antibiotics, and that's what people don't understand. That's
it's
basically
poison.
not the
Yeah,
poor wheat that been botched from right to left, but it's also the chemicals that's in there. It's basically antibiotics. So
yeah,
whenever you take it, you take antibiotic basically, and that's what causing inflammation, because that's what removing all the villi and all the, that's the issue. It's not the issue that, oh, the
right,
wheat. And this is very important, that people like many who finally transferred to the and understand, so now they want to be more healthier, they're afraid to touch the wheat. So I said,
right.
no, you make your delicious cake, bake a bread the way we've done centuries. Just do not use the hybridized stuff. And maybe something for new, that probably not new for many, but I want to say that if you think that you buying a whole wheat bread, it's healthy for you, then you under a lot of mistake.
Yeah.
One again, I got another
Another
so
call.
how,
Well,
yes.
I'll just expand on that while you work that out. I was part of the Attack on Food and Farming Symposium through the Children's Health Defense a couple of weekends ago. And all the free recordings are on Children's Health Defense, or
No.
Door to Freedom. I can see you, Hava.
You see me? You see
Yeah,
me? I'm
yeah.
just like
And you can get
again.
all the
It's like I'm stuck with. I don't know how to back to.
So you can get all those videos on Children's Health Defense website, or Door to Freedom, which is Meryl Nass's website. And I mean, I have a presentation there, but Zen Honeycut has a video in
Exactly.
regards to glyphosate in all of our food.
Exactly.
And she goes into, actually, they've tested a whole bunch of different foods, you know, and these chemicals, they accumulate in our beans and our grains and our flour, our, you know, our seeds, because that's just, you know, what they're using on these products when they grow them. And also because these seeds and grains and nuts have a lot of fat, and chemicals tend to hang out in fat. So
Right.
I do suggest, if you're interested in food and farming and what's coming from globalist organizations, check out that. But we have about 2 more minutes. Hava, what are some last thoughts you'd like to leave
Okay,
with the
so
people?
lot few things I would like to add. We did went through them very quickly, but I would like to really emphasize the power of the sun, something that we forget when it comes to the healing the skin. And most people are afraid from the sun, and they cover like tons of skin protections and stuff like that. That's actually are not good, and we should do an opposite. And you might say, how is that possible? Well, because if I show you images of the people who've been diseased with different skin problems, as soon they've been put into the sun and they use the sun as a healing agent, their skin improved. Now, another thing, when we say about the skin that, oh, the sun can bring cancer, that's absolutely stupid to say that, because the sun is not the one that brings this cancer to the skin, but actually the sun as a healing agent pulls the garbage out of your system to the surface. So from here, you can actually clear out. So that's another important thing that I want to people know, and really use this sun as a healing agent. I obviously have to know when to be on the sun, and not like many people who think, okay, now I landed in the sun, so now I will be 24-hour a day on the sun because that's what I need to do. So that's not the correct way, but that we should do a class actually about that. We should write down about, I did one time class about the sun. We should do it
Yeah, that'd
as
be
well.
fun.
So the sun, and also I wanted to emphasize a lot about going to saunas and sweating and
Mm,
removing this garbage out of your system. And remember, any problem is just a stagnation, blockage. So remove the garbage out your system, remove the toxins, scrub it, soak yourself in a bath with the salty water, because the minerals that we are lacking, right? And so on, so on. Why people go to the Dead Sea? They go to the Dead Sea because it's so concentration of the salt. Then as soon you go in, it's really eats up the flesh. But what it does is provides those minerals that we are lacking. So the idea is that we should also take as much minerals we can through using nettles, like another herbal infusions, and also use a salty water, a little bit flakes of salt and by mouth is very good, and seaweeds and stuff like that. So that way we can provide more nourishment. So that's what I would suggest, as a final thought about the skin and rejuvenation. So get the garbage out, use the sun, and okay, now you.
yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I'll just add to that one herb that I forgot to mention, because you mentioned the sun, and of course the sun is excellent for the skin. And yeah, we are afraid of the sun. You know, when you have a poor diet high in sugar and carbs, you actually burn easier. And of course, some medications you'll burn easier. But one herb that helps, not only good food and eating really good food can help you. I don't burn anymore. I used to burn all the time. I can go out in the sun after being inside in the winter, and I'll be outside all day and I might get a little burn, but I'm tanning all summer long. I don't use any protection like that. I might put a hat on and stuff, but
Right in the
go
middle
go
of the day,
go
from the
to
midnight, you should wear a hat. Yeah,
right. Yeah. But one herb is called go to cola, and it's not only good
amazing.
for your skin topically, but when you take it internally, it helps It keeps you, it's basically photoprotective. So I try to get that in my tea almost daily. Definitely in your vitamin D. Get in the sun. That's where we really create the vitamin D, and that's going to help just not only your skin but your whole body, your immune system and everything else. But yeah, my final thoughts are for healthy skin is the same as yours. Eliminate, nourish, and use topicals when you have to, and then get in the sun.
Amazing.
And oh yeah,
Amazing.
and I love the fact, swim in the ocean, do Epsom salt baths. Salt is so good for any skin condition. I love it.
Yes, amazingly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So also borax is wonderful. It's also part of the salt, right? As
Yep.
well as the Epsom salt and even a good salt, mineralized salt. Just put it in and soak yourself, and you'll see an amazing results. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Many years ago, people used seawater as a part of healing,
Yeah.
and we don't understand because we almost a lot of people they have a pools, but as we started our in the beginning, stay away now from those pools if we don't want the flesh eating bacteria.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, thank
Yeah,
you, Hava. I'm gonna
thank
I'm
you
gonna
so
stop
much.
recording. And thank you everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Amazing. Bye everyone, thank you so much.